Good day, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 5 of the Point 99 podcast with me, your host, Mr. Steve. We've reached the halfway point of the season, and no, you're safe. There's no singing this time around. There's also no letting up in the amazing guests, or at least I feel that they're amazing, that I have lined up for the second half of this, the fourth season, with a familiar face joining us later today. I do, however, have 5 fresh new faces for the guest hot seat, seeing us through to the finale at episode 10. It's an early in the week recording for me this week, as I'm tagging the main recording onto the back of the guest interview. I've got a bit of a busy week, wining, dining and taking in a show. It's great to get out, it's great to socialise and have a break from all things, including running for a night, but it doesn't have to make organising my week just that little bit more difficult, including finding a slot to record the podcast. Nevertheless, it's onwards and upwards as we look ahead to this week's guest. Before that, let's hit the intro and learn a bit about the wider community, my own running and the responses to this week's question before we line up another one for y'all. For those who are unfamiliar with or are new to the show, the Point 99 podcast is a running podcast for all runners of all abilities, the everyday runners out there. If you're new to running or to the podcast, we hope to have guests, topics and discussions that will help you along whatever path your journey is taking. For any seasoned runners or listeners, maybe we'll have some stories that will have you empathising with our experiences and predicaments. If it's lessons we've learned during our own journeys, embarrassing stories or heartstring pulling moments, we hope you'll stick with us while we try share some good vibes, motivation and positivity. And hopefully we can have a laugh along the way. Some of you may recall I was an Active Route ambassador in 2023. With the year done and dusted, the new ambassadorial program has rolled around, and for this year I have opted not to reapply. Not because I don't love the brand or anything, I'm still a customer and I will still support them. It's because I wanted to look for new opportunities. Personally, I only like to try and undertake one main ambassadorial role at any one time, and I'm fully on board with stepping back and letting other people have the opportunity to experience what it's like to be a brand ambassador. I don't believe in doing the same thing year on year or selling my soul to as many brands as possible. So I was on the market to become a new brand ambassador, and in fact, I only applied for one company this year. Even though I was unsure I was going to be successful, thankfully, I was lucky enough to be selected by the amazing Kylo in the Wild. Anyone who's the least bit familiar with my profile will be aware that I wear sunnies nearly all of the time in my photos, come spring, summer, autumn or winter. Whether I'm running, cold water dipping or paddleboarding, I typically have a pair of sunnies on. Kylo in the Wild are just that as well. They're a polarised, non-slip sunglasses brand born and bred in Scotland. That's 2 big ticks for me. 1 being sunglasses, 2 a Scottish brand, as I do love supporting and shouting out Scottish brands. There are a few familiar faces within the community as well who have been successful in their selection. So there's a potential for some teaming up and heading out for promotional photos and ambassador type stuff. Anyway, I'm super excited to get going with this role. If you're interested at looking at what Kylo has on offer, head over to kylointhewild.com. I'll also have a discount code going live very soon, which I'll share for a tasty discount on any of your purchases. And for that matter, I'll be using it myself to get a stock of all the vibrant, funky colours to match all of my running outfits. Like I've said in the past with Active Route, I will only take on an ambassadorial role if it is a product that I am happy to put my hand in my pocket and buy myself. I don't see the point in shouting out something that you're not personally using or going to use in your everyday life. So here we go. Kylo in the wild. Thank you very much for taking me on board, and hopefully we can have a fantastic 2024. Things in the community, though, have been pretty quiet once again, with events still being fairly few and far between as we work our way out of winter. As spring peeks its head around the corner, we are starting to see the event calendar filling up from 5k through to spring marathons and ultra marathons. For me, I of course have my sights set firmly on the Inverness Half Marathon. It falls the day after the John Muir Way Ultra, so I'm sure we're going to have a jam-packed roll call for the episode that falls the week after both. My own training, though, in the run-up to the half has returned to being fairly consistent. There was another half effort at the weekend, but it was unfueled and on very tired legs by the end of it. That was in part due to the 5k time trial I put myself through on Friday evening to judge how my shorter distance times were looking. Although I did achieve my second fastest 5k time, it wasn't easy, nor was it pretty. I'm my own worst enemy. I have very little self-drive to push my boundaries on sessions like these, even if I'm wearing the wonder shoes that are the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 3. Although the reality is that I was only 15 to 20 seconds away from my personal record, it felt like a very long way on that particular day. I know if I roll out of bed feeling revved up and raring to go, that it would be entirely possible to set a new record, especially with a bit of competition to spur me along. I do need to get myself signed up for a local club and get a little bit more of a competitive element to my running and just push me on that bit more to really start making headway with some of these times. But I'm just a big scaredy cat really at heart, and yeah, I'm used to running on my own, but one day maybe we'll see that crop up. Okay, so let's get on to this week's question, and you've been amazing with your responses as always. There have been so many that I would 100% love to undertake myself. Some may be a little bit tough at times, but each has great variety in their scenery, history, and culture. So the question I set for you though was, if you had the opportunity to run the length of any country, where would you choose? And in this scenario, your accommodation, your gear, your hydration, your nutrition, all your expenses would be covered. All you would need to do is select the destination and then run the length of it in whatever time it took you to run it. The question was, of course, inspired by not only this week's guest, but also Russell Cook, who is running the length of Africa. But nobody followed that example and said a continent. There are some sub-countries, ones that aren't full-blown, but I'm going to let it slide and we'll stick them in there. Starting us off, we have two individuals who have chosen somewhere that I would love to go myself. And I've said it in past episodes, I would love to run this country's marathon. That is, of course, Japan. And that comes from both John, that lazy running guy, and Peter, peter.n.c_runs_. Now, I think this is because there's such a variety in its prefectures, in its landscape, and in its culture. Just the length of the country alone, you start from the very cold all the way down to the tropical blue seas. That and the Japanese people are always portrayed as being so welcoming and so nice. From Japan and sticking on that side of the world, we go to a country that I believe is of similar sort of size, maybe a bit smaller than Japan. And this suggestion comes from our man in Saudi, Doug. That's Doug_runs_Saudi. And he's chosen New Zealand. He said it's God's country, second only to Scotland, obviously. I've never been to New Zealand, but from what I have seen, it does look a lot like our own country, except maybe just on steroids. Flying to more familiar shores, we have James Gow, Jimmy Bunter's suggestion of Greece. I'd go Greece, he says. Nice and warm with lots of cool history stuff to look at. That's a good shout, and kind of on the vibe of what the next three people have suggested here as well, which is, well, a bit of a cop-out. but also the smart man's choice of the world's smallest country, Vatican City. And that comes from my wife. It comes from Annie and Lauren, the running girls, and previous guest, Chris Evans, chris.runs.a.lap. So Vatican City and Greece, I think just the two with their history, Vatican City with who lives there, but the whole aesthetic of the history, the ruins, the buildings, it would just be pretty cool. I'm not sure Greece would be cool. It would be a bit warm for me, but it would still be lovely all the same, especially for those who love a bit of ultra running like Jimmy, because it's so rugged and so untamed. We're flying west next for Ben, the barefoot daddy suggestion, and he says Canada. Gots to be. For me, that is a good shout. I've got family in Canada, and it would be so cool to do a bit of running and catch up with people that I've never met so far. It is a massive country. It's very untamed, and just the sheer expanse of it all would be pretty mind-blowing. No matter where you were running there, you could also be running on areas that have never seen human footfall before, so that alone could blow the mind. Sticking with Western Shores and all things big, especially on the size of the country itself, we have TJ I Run for shirts and medal suggestion, along with Stuart Rowan. Stuart runs a lot, that he does. They've both said America. TJ's choice was my own country, America, as the states are so diverse, and that was followed by Stuart, who said LA to New York City. Now, I've followed a few accounts in recent years who have done the LA to NYC challenge for charity, and it looks so hard. I mean, just with the diversity of temperatures from East Coast to West Coast, not forgetting north to south as well, it's just a bit of a beast and would be amazing at times, but also very, very tough. We're sticking again to the western side of the world, and we have Carl Orm's suggestion of Chile. Now, I don't think he liked my response here. I thought I would love a good dad joke, because I said if you get tired of running with your feet, you can always try the Andes. I know, it's terrible. It is terrible. That is a good shout, though. A bit of elevation there. One for the ultra runner as well, I suppose. We're heading back east now with Patrick Watkins' suggestion. Iceland. It's smaller and looks like another planet. It really does, doesn't it? The waterfalls, the volcanoes, the geysers, and of course, having a populace who are always portrayed as being so friendly and so welcoming. That and their cathedral just looks architecturally, oof, it's a bit of a golden moment for me. Again, I've never been to Iceland. I would love to go. I've had family that have been there. It does look pretty awesome. It is, however, still the size of Ireland, so it's not going to be a walk in the park. We've got a couple more here. We've got one from James McQuillan who says, Isle of Man. Now, I don't know if Isle of Man is technically a country, but I'm going to let it slide as I'm a bit of a petrol head and I do like the idea of running around the Isle of Man TT course. Not quite the length of it, I suppose, but still pretty awesome. And you could probably do that in a day. We're sticking with British shores here and our very own country. Of course, there had to be at least one suggestion for Scotland, and it comes from the awesome AB McCracken. He says it has to be our own country. It's the most beautiful in the world. Let's do it. Now that's a throwdown if ever I heard one, but something that the community as a whole could undertake over the course of maybe a few months. We could dip in and out, set up little sections and just undertake it in bite-sized pieces. Definitely doable and a good shout, my man. Now, finally, we have a man who is not picky whatsoever, as his response was anywhere. And that's, of course, our episode 2 guest of the season, David Wright. So no matter where you want to send David, just send him. He'll happily run the length of wherever you put him. Maybe into the wilds of the Serbian wilderness or Russia, you might think twice then, but that would still be pretty good as well. A bit of something different and an experience and a half. And that was last week's question for you. I have to say, thank you very much for all the responses. They were really good. I'm not sure Carl will ever speak to me again with my response to him, but I did love reading through those. This question comes from the community, not from myself for a change. Now, it is season 3's guest, Michael Crawford's sister. So, of course, my cousin, who has suggested this one. And she said it came up at her 6 a.m. club. She has a little running club that she goes out with early in the morning. Certainly not my type of running, but anyway, it has spurred the question today. James has said, with the price of events having gone up from years gone by, and they've gone up year on year, would you sacrifice a medal, a t-shirt, a goodie bag to have a cheaper event? Now, I think I have seen this maybe on the odd event offering a similar sort of thing, but it's a great question. Would you sacrifice a medal, a t-shirt, a goodie bag, or even all of the above in a situation where you could get a cheaper event? I know for some people, events are about setting times and getting kicked up the backside to put a little bit of heat in their running. But for other people like me, it's about getting a medal and undertaking a challenge. I personally don't need any more running t-shirts, so I could forgo that for a cheaper entry. And a goodie bag as well. As long as there's a bottle of water, I usually take my own. But you do sometimes get some good things thrown into there. It is, however, for you guys to decide. I'll, of course, have it up in the question box on the stories on Monday. But if you want to slide into the DMs or the comments, you can, of course, do that right now. Once again, if you had the opportunity to get a cheaper event by foregoing a medal, a t-shirt, a goodie bag, or all of the above, would you? Okay, now I'm seeing the time. Let's move on. Let's get on to this week's guest. I've put it in the stories. I've alluded to it already. We do have a returning guest today. It's someone who I absolutely loved speaking to back in season 2. And it is the one and only Mexican señorita, Tania Carmona. I loved speaking to Tania back in season 2. It just feels like such a long time ago though. In that episode, we were looking ahead to a challenge that she was flying off to not long after, but she has now undertaken that, and it was a multi-day ultramarathon at the Ultra X Jordan. We'll be talking a little bit about how she got on there, but also how that event has now inspired a phenomenal 5-desert challenge that she is putting herself through over the course of this year and the year ahead. We'll also be talking a little bit about her very own podcast, the Ultra Happy podcast, that documents not only how this event is going to be going or these events, but also a little bit of background as to ultra running for those who want to step into that world. Less of the beating around the bush. Let's get on to the discussion that I had around about 30 minutes ago with this amazing woman and learn all about what she's got going on. It is, of course, once again, the lovely Tania Carmona. Today, I have a returning face to the hot seat. She was someone I absolutely loved speaking to back in season 2, and I have no doubt I'm about to love our latest catch-up. Since her initial appearance on the 99, she has participated in and completed a mega multi-day ultramarathon at the Ultra X Jordan, and has also started her very own fantastic podcast, the Ultra Happy podcast. It not only documents her ultra journey, but adds a great insight into the world of the Crazy People Running Club. The addition of her partner Andy also creates an awesome dynamic. The Ultra Happy podcast covers more than just her past and current journeys though, as it looks ahead to her very next adventure, a whopping 1,250 kilometer battle, which involves the 5 major deserts of the world. But rather than me waffle on, let's get to chatting with the main lady herself, fresh from a weekend of eventing, and find out how it's all been going. It is, of course, the delightful Tania runs the world, Tania Carmona.
Whee!
Back again. You have obviously enjoyed your last visit.
I know. I'm still here. I didn't hate you, so that's good.
Oh, good, good. And it went down well. The listening figures were very good.
I'm glad. I'm glad people are liking it, listening to this nonsense.
You were one of our very first guests as well. I
Oh,
think
is
you were guest
it?
number 3 or 4.
Oh, it was a good juju.
Yeah, yeah. And I have to say, but I said it to Omar Stanley Pasodas. I do love the Mexican heritage as well. I love just anything Mexican. So I'm so glad to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me back.
It's early in the week, but I have seen you've been out for a recovery run already. But you were going a little bit crazy at the weekend. Was it 42 kilometers?
Yeah, it was a marathon. 42.
Marathon. That's too much like crazy for this time of the year.
It was a marathon, and we did it fully geared with my 8 kilo backpack. We decided to go for the 8 kilos, so not
Wow.
fully with a 10. Because it would be the longest run with the weight on. So my coach and I decided, like, let's not go full crazy here. Let's just,
Mm.
add a tiny bit of the weight. So we just did 7, 8-ish with the water. And it was 18 meters elevation. So that was, yeah. I still am getting recovered. Yesterday was like a zombie day, when like after a race that you feel like hangover and dehydrated and your brain is still a little bit like confused and foggy in what just happened. And today, I tried to go for a run, but it was more of a walk run, to be honest. My legs are absolutely hating me at the moment. I think it was just my hip flexors and quads. It was a leg killer route. Like, absolutely recommend it. It's such a beautiful place. But yeah, it was definitely a leg killer. But yeah, glad I get it done, and more so with the time limit, which it was a very friendly um race, very beginner friendly, I think, for anyone that wants to get into the distance and trail and try even the trail running. I think that it was a great event for that. It's in Tweed Valley, I believe it's called.
Okay. Okay.
Very nice. Yeah, definitely recommend it. And because they have a really nice cut-offs, so you don't feel pushed. But because obviously I was wearing the heavy backpack, I was walking a lot more. I was just trying to push, but still. So I was happy that I was able to at least finish it within the cut-off limit. And I
You
was not the last one, so that was good.
you made your life a little bit harder, but obviously that has you have a reason for that, and we're going to get to that
Oh yeah, sorry.
throughout the interview. No, it's fine, it's
I'm
fine.
just throwing it out there like I
No,
know.
no, no,
I don't
no.
know why I think people know. So this
Well, I actually think a lot of people might already know because I either follow you or
yeah.
a lot of our listeners are What the Fartlick listeners as well, and you were of
All
course
right.
there. I did listen to
Yeah.
that episode, and that was a fantastic episode as well. Were you butt shuffling down the stairs though, like your reel had shown not so long ago?
Yeah. I still struggling to walk a little bit actually. I think today is worse than yesterday, of course. So today was like when I see my training schedule was like 60 minutes. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to run 60 minutes. I cannot even walk. So I just went out for a shuffle. Like I think it was like, yeah, very slow. Even Andy went with me. He was walking and I was trying to
Oh,
trot along. I know it was so painful. And I did even less than 45 minutes. I think it did 40 minutes and I couldn't do it anymore. And I just came home and nap all afternoon. So
oh.
yeah, just waking up because yeah, definitely still feel my body very broken.
I mean,
So
a
yeah,
marathon's hard enough, Tanya, let alone an elevated marathon with a
yeah,
heavy backpack on as well.
I know. I don't know what I was thinking, but you know what's a fun thing? Like, well, when we get into it, it's like now you have to do it many more times
Yeah,
in a row.
that's going to become life for you now.
That's what I was like. I don't know what am I thinking?
Since you were last on the show, I kind of covered it there in the intro. You have done a proper crazy multi-day ultra marathon as well with Ultra X at Jordan. How did that go?
Oh my God, that was so much fun. I feel like I should listen to the podcast just to
Listen
like
back.
remember. Yeah, just to remember the feeling if I was nervous or not. I cannot remember now
I don't
if I
think you
was
were. I
nervous.
think you were looking forward to it. You were,
Yeah.
you may be a little bit apprehensive, but you were looking forward to it.
No, I had a blast. I loved it. Love, love, love the route. I was craving for some sun and heat. I
Just a
got it,
little.
of course, just a little. My Mexican blood needed a little bit of warm weather after being here for so long with no heat and no sun. So I got my vitamin D top up, and it was absolutely amazing. It was such a great organization. So I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I would do recommend that run as well. I think it's again super super well organized. You feel safe the entire time. They take your bags each stage, so you don't have to carry just your fuel for that run, but you don't have to carry everything else. So that is great, and the people were amazing as well. The other competitors, I was able to like. I feel because you are with that people for longer than just a day, let's say in a long ultra or a run, you connect more because you see them after you even see them after the run. So you
Yeah.
run and then you hang about all afternoon with these people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're literally like living with them for that week, and you see people struggling, you see people, and it's funny because the first couple of days you start walking like a penguin, and then the last days obviously everyone's just shuffling around the camp. And it was, I don't know, it's just so funny because you're sharing, doing something really hard. Maybe some may be really fast and speedy, but obviously there are some other people that are a little bit, so everything. And there was actually a mom and a daughter doing it together, and they were just walking it. So they walking the entire thing. So I love that as well, that it was so inclusive that you could have, obviously the elites or like the super fast runners, but you will also have, someone that maybe the mom is like can't remember her name, sorry, but she's actually quite well known in the ultra world.
Okay.
She's done Bathwater 11 times.
Wow.
And I know she's amazing. I can't believe I forgot her name. Like I said, she's quite famous. And the daughter was just there, she wanted to introduce her daughter into doing this kind of, ultra events, which I think the stage format is like a really nice way to introduce yourself into doing something a little bit lengthier
Yeah.
without having to go to the 50 or 60 that maybe scares people a little bit more.
You're not
So
dropping yourself in the deep end. You're taking it bite size and immersing yourself in
exactly,
that whole environment.
exactly. Plus, obviously, you are in a beautiful part of the world. So
Yes.
that's always, if you ask me, I always say that that's what running, like that's why I do the running, not because I love running. I don't know if I told you this in the last episode, but I really hate the running part of it. Like
Yeah.
I'm not a runner. I don't consider myself a runner. I don't particularly enjoy running. What I enjoy is being able to do these challenges. So, the vehicle is running and I have to do it. And that's, I like to explore and, do these distances on foot, but it's more for the traveling and the exploring and
Yeah.
the challenge itself rather than the running. So being in that part of the world, it was absolutely, and obviously after you finish, you can spend a little bit of holiday around as well because I mean you're already there, so why not, you can do a wee holiday
It's a bit of
running holiday.
recovery afterwards, isn't it?
Yeah, it was
Well
great having that
deserved.
recovery in the Dead Sea after. So it was so 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 good.
And where better to replenish your salts than in the Dead Sea?
There you go, exactly. Yeah, yeah, you got a bit of a spa in there. It was really warm as well. Oh, it was just really really nice.
You did mention there as well. You felt safe because obviously there was it's still ongoing, but the difficulties in the general area kind of kicked off just before you went over. So it's really nice to hear that you felt safe. I know it's a couple of countries over, which is a few thousand kilometers really, but I think that's probably the
Yeah,
thing that
it
maybe
was.
put some people off, if anything.
Yeah, we didn't know that was happening. Obviously, again, well, when you were doing this race, you don't have any connection with the
Mhm.
world. So literally where it can be, ending and you have no idea. Like it's just you're in the middle of nowhere. And my family was going to meet me in Jordan at the end. Just to do, like I said, a little bit of traveling around. And we were going to stay in Jordan for a couple of days and then fly to Israel, just, again, just traveling around.
Yeah.
And the things didn't kick off until we finished. Like 1 or 2 days after we finished, we're still in Jordan, where we're finishing actually Petra and all that. And we were traveling in 2, 3 days later to Israel.
Yeah.
And that's when the things kick off. So we were in the Red Sea, literally looking at the front, you're just crossing the sea. Like obviously you see water, but just crossing across the water, these things that thing is happening just right
Yeah.
there. But we never heard anything. Obviously we couldn't continue with our trip. We had to take a reroute to go somewhere else in that moment. But in that moment it was fine. But yeah, I know there was another race, for example, the one that I'm doing this year. These organizers had a race in Jordan, same
Mhm.
thing, and they
Mhm.
had to cancel it last year. So yeah, once you do, if you do these kind of races, definitely you are more exposed and in maybe
Yeah, they're more
crazy.
wild areas generally and politically. And I think as we're getting closer to the challenge that you're doing, and it is very close to a lot of these hot zones of the world, more than just in temperature. But I think the main thing is that you feel safe while you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Part and parcel as we get closer to what you're heading towards, and off the back of Ultra X Jordan, you created your own podcast to kind of document not only everything that's come before, like we've talked about before, but also this new love of the format and a new challenge that you're doing. But you have the podcast firstly. How's
Yep.
that getting on?
Oh, it's been so much fun. Like I was saying, I'm loving having that time with Andy and just chatting, because Andy, my partner, is on it. Because I think people would be very bored of me listening to my voice for an entire hour. But I thought Andy is hilarious. He always laughs at me about all my crazy stuff. He's not a runner. So I think he brings that part of it, like he brings it down to earth. Like this is what
You've
happens
got the
close. So,
everyman, everyday man, and then you've got
yeah, he's like,
the crazy
what?
lady.
Exactly. And then I'm like there with a crazy chat. And to be honest, we've had like great response from people, and I'm a little bit jealous because he's getting all the attention. Everyone's like, we love Andy's stories, like, oh Andy. And then sometimes I meet people, I don't know, down the road or in the street, or I meet them at a run or something, and they're like starting like I was like, hey, do you want to go for a hike with me? And they're like, oh no, because I know I'm like, Andy, I'm scared where you're going to take me. Like, what's a hike for you? Because he was making fun of that in the podcast with me. And so it's funny when people are starting like, knowing you maybe a little bit more,
Yeah.
because how Andy is just, making fun of the situation. But I think that it just brings a little bit more fun into the chat. And obviously we're still covering really interesting topics about obviously running, my journey. I'm a coach, so I'm able to bring a little bit more of training chat, but always with with a twist of being happy, which that's why I put the name to the podcast, the Ultra Happy Podcast, because it's all about doing whatever makes you happy. So it's not about times and paces, or being the best. Like you just want to have fun and enjoy life. And if what better who better person to share with that with Andy.
He certainly does add a nice dynamic to, or a different dynamic than most other podcasts are. It's runners talking to runners, and you
Or
sometimes
interviews.
yeah, exactly. And you forget that not everyone listening might be a runner. Whereas from your dynamic, you've got Andy, who's not a runner. He can ask the questions that the everyday person might ask you or take a different stance on things. But I think the thing that kind of sticks with me most, and it was only just the other day, because you've got the video format as well, it was you had him tasting like the gels, and it was this reaction to tasting the gel. I think that's a
Yeah.
normal reaction because they're not very nice. We just love them because we're weird.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been seeing that cupboard full of those things, in the kitchen for 6-8 years, and he's never even thought about eating any of that. But because I was going to race my marathon, and obviously I'm always talking about the food and what I'm taking and all that. We're like, I made a big order to cover the marathon, and I'm like, I'm going to share it with everyone what I'm going to take and what I'm doing for, in preparation for my next challenge and all that. Obviously, nutrition is a big part, obviously, and fueling and all that. Yep. So it just, and it's like, what if I try it? I'm like, do you want to try it? And then we just, it was so funny. He put himself to it though. So, and I will tell you what, it was super interesting to taste it myself outside running. Because have you ever tried a goo just because? No, like you never sit down and you're like sipping on.
I'm weird, Tanya, because I'll sit and I'll have a Voom energy bar when I've not been running because I love the taste of it.
Oh, energy bars is fine.
An energy gel I'll maybe have because, again, I'm very strange. As when I was younger, I loved the taste of undiluted diluting juice. So the really, really concentrated bitterness. Yeah. I loved that.
Oh, you are weird.
I am weird, yeah. Not so much anymore. I don't go around like chugging bottles of undiluted juice. But I will have, it's not beyond me if you're feeling a little bit, not that I don't really drink alcohol anymore, but if you're feeling a little bit deflated in the morning, I wouldn't rule it out having an energy gel just to give you that little bit of a kick in the morning.
Oh my God, I will never think about that, I think. So when I was sitting there with him and he was trying it, and he's like, oh, this is very strong, which you're right, it's like very strong taste. I never thought it was that strong taste until I was sitting there. Maybe because when you're running, obviously you're dehydrated and you're like, you
need something sharp as well.
You need something really, really strong. But when I was sitting there just, in the podcast and we started like trying the things out and, making fun of it and these faces, I was trying it and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we eat this. This is horrible. But obviously,
And it's a style we eat them as well. I think it was what the Fartlek mentioned as well. That some people, like I used to, you down the whole gel in a couple of seconds. And the recommended is you take it little by little over the course of the hour. Oh, I don't like that because then it was sticky hand and stuff. I just like not doing that. Just get it down. And if it doesn't stay down, it doesn't stay down.
Yeah, no, all in one. It has to be a shot. Just hit me quickly because I can't be bothered.
So we've got the podcast, which is covering a story. You've got a really heavy backpack, which is for a reason, and you've now got your hydration and your nutrition. So can you share what your next ultra crazy mega thing is and why this is all part and parcel of it?
Oh, dear God. I signed up for this crazy series of races. So there are 5 races within a year. Each race is 250 kilometers through the different deserts of the world. So sort of like the Jordan that we did, but the difference is a little bit longer because Jordan was 230. These ones are 250. And these ones are self-supported.
Wow.
So now I will have to be, that's why I was saying about the backpack. So I have to be carrying a backpack with all the things that I'm going to need through those 250 kilometers with me. So they only provide water and a tent to sleep, right? So they camp by camp. But you do have to carry your food, like everything, your dehydrated meals, your fuel, all the bars and the goose and everything that you need to eat during that. So that's why also it was maybe in this race that I did this weekend and the things that I gave Andy to try that day, maybe I wouldn't like recommend them to do like even an ultra run or in a long run. I try to keep it like with real food,
Yeah.
like, but the thing is in the desert, like you need to think,
You're not taking
one
a bag of frozen potatoes and letting them defrost in your bag.
exactly. Or my Snickers, because I love having a Snickers halfway, or
Yeah.
like that's my wee treat, but that is not going to survive. Or fruits, like I love having an apple or a banana, but I don't think banana is going to end up absolutely squashed,
You,
and
you
the
could have,
apple is too heavy.
well, I suppose you could get the pressed chipped versions, but even then, they're still going to take up quite a lot of room.
Exactly.
And
You
they
need to
just don't
think
cut the
about the
mustard quite
room.
as well, do they?
Yes, you have to be very, very smart in the fueling. I think that's
Yeah.
where the catch is.
Mm.
And obviously taking care of yourself, your feet, obviously, which it was great that I had the Jordan experience, because it was good to know that, oh, okay, my shoes worked out, the gaiters, so like the things that you use in your shoes to cover from the sand, they were good. Um the gear was great as well. So now I just need to add the backpack and the nutrition to that. So, and I love that, like I was saying, it's in different parts of the world. So most of the reason why I do the running that I do is to just run around the world. So it's a good excuse to book that holiday and just go and discover and explore.
Five very crazy holidays. And that was
Five
some
very
that was something I noticed with the photos from Ultra X. Not just of yourself, but of all the athletes. Still, there was a lot of foot care going on. There was a lot of still happy, smiley faces, and the camps looked really good, looked really relaxed. But I think that must be really important for what you're doing, just to still relax, still enjoy it, because you are having to be
they
mentally strong as well as physically strong.
those Ultra X ones, again, I think it's a starting point if anyone wants to put their feet into ultras. Even
Mm-hmm.
it's a great multi-day experience, because they had also the physios after every race. Like you can just put your name down, and there's physios there for free that are massaging your legs. The medics as well are there to take care of your feet and everything. And this is not something that's very luxurious. That is like super VIP,
You
and that,
pay a premium for that though, don't you?
yeah,
Yeah,
I can't remember if it's, I don't know if
yeah.
it was, a bit pricier than these ones, but these ones, the ones that I'm going to be doing, there's no physios definitely at the end, and there's going to be like no massages at the end of the run. I will have to do my own DIY. And I think there's medicals, but they are for emergencies only. So I will have to be taking care of my own taping and everything. So I think if anyone has a little bit of a bug of traveling and running and see how it would feel to run, in the desert and all that, I think Ultrax is a great start.
Mhm.
And then from there, maybe take on something a little bit bigger, or even ultras. To be honest, it
Just
was just
generally
great.
ultras, yeah, because
Yeah,
it's even in Scotland, running in sand is one thing; it's going to be a killer on your legs. Um, but running in boggy, wintry, wet conditions is equally as bad for your feet and can really do some serious damage.
exactly. Plus, you come back with an awesome tan. So I mean,
Yeah. Hopefully, not too good of a tan. Where
oh,
it
I
goes the opposite
know.
side of it. Yeah.
I was seeing a lot of peers or the runners like having to
Mm.
put a lot of sunblock on, and if they missed a tiny spot, they would get so sunburned. There was like some really ugly sunburns around. Um, just happy I have like my Mexican skin, that I was like actually sleeveless,
Yeah.
and I was just, and everyone's like, oh, my shoulders will die. I'm like, yeah, your shoulders will probably die if
I think
exposed like that.
that's the perfect thing. You've got the background, you've got the family heritage to
Yeah.
manage the sun a lot better than someone like me who looks like Casper the Friendly Ghost right now. Um, so where do things kick off, and how often are these races? Are they, say, a month or 2 months apart, or is it more like a bigger space in between them?
So they start in the first one is in April,
Okay,
26 in
not that
Nambia,
long away,
South
really.
Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's just around the corner. And then after that is Gobi Desert in China. Then after that we go to Jordan, go back to Jordan, but now with this organization, of course. Then we go Antarctica. And the last one is in Atacama in Chile. And roughly between each one, I have 4 to 6 weeks between them. So it's not a lot of time thinking, for example, in this one in
Recovery time.
Nambia, when they finish, I usually am not going to come back right away home. Like I would probably stay there for a week, recover, I will recover whatever the trip it is.
Yeah.
And I will have a little bit of a holiday or whatever, and then come back home, pretty much get ready, gear it up again, finishing touches, and we're up again. So with my coach and I, we had to be very smart with the training, in the sense of we're trained, like all the training that needs to be done, it's until Nambia or before Nambia, I start tapering. And that's pretty much it. Like that is going to be the end of my training for this year, because after that it's going to be pretty much a game of recover and go, recover and go, recover and go. There wouldn't be much building anymore, obviously, because I would be. And then obviously right now my training it's been pretty harsh. I feel quite tired, but I know it's just going to be a couple more weeks, and that will be pretty much me for the entire season. So I'm happy for that. But we have to build quite a strong body to get ahead, not only of one but 5 races. So yeah, that's a little bit different than if I had only one, for example. Probably I would have planned it differently. I would have done my training differently. But because it's 5 of them, and we have to be quite smart with it.
Not just the races themselves, though. How do you feel you're going to cope with the traveling to each of these destinations? Because it's not as if it's a hop, skip, and a jump away. It's quite a significant distance. You're going to have a little bit of jet lag, or are there days built in for kind of acclimatizing to your environment beforehand?
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. So whenever I finish and before I get there, I would, for example, Nambia, I'm getting there 1-2 days before it starts, just also because one of the recommendations of the organization is to get there before, because you never know if your bag is missing. You don't make a transfer or a transit. I've been having issues with my visa. Like it looks like they don't have a lot of Mexicans traveling to South Africa. So I'm trying to figure out if I need a visa. If not, some website says yay, some website says no. I've been trying to call the embassy. There's no, like, it's been interesting. And I had to ask the organizer to call from me, because I believe she has people in the country. And they had to call, and they did. She said that they were like a little bit confused. They were not even sure 100%. So yeah, all those things also are things that we need to consider, like I guess visas and timings, because I need to start processing the visa or applying for that just now. Insurance says there is a lot of bits and bobs that need to be logistically before just even getting there. So along with training and everything. So that's why it was one of the reasons why we decided to do the podcast as well, because I think it would be really fun to share how, the preparation to do something like this. And if, one day anyone is feeling interested in going and, trying any of these races, they can be like, they will have somewhere, to be like, oh, let's see what she did in nutrition. So I will have a podcast speaking about nutrition or traveling, and how do you, how did I manage that? So that's why we thought the podcast would have been ideal, because it's a lot of things. Also, they ask you to have patches in your clothes with your flag and the name of the race, obviously. So that means that I need to start stitching them up. So that means that I need to choose my year now. And there is a lengthy list of kit check of mandatory kit as well. So there is a lot of things going on. And on top of that, Andy and I are moving as well. So
out of the country, or
wow. You missed that one.
I did miss that one. Then. Yes.
You need to go to episode 4.
I'll have to listen back now.
5. I don't know.
Yeah. So where are you moving to?
So newsflash, ready? We are moving to Dubai.
Wow. That would be
I know,
great, though. That's a perfect location to be to train
perfect
for hot weather
location.
ultras. Yes.
But in top of all these madness that is happening just now, is packing a life here to just travel around, like, I want to say around the world because it is quite far
It is
away.
around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't seem that long because you can jump on a
No,
plane and be there within X number of hours, but it's still a
it's
quarter, if
still
not
like
halfway around the
12
world.
hours. Yeah, it's still
Yes.
like a 12, 16-hour flight, definitely with like, or even 18 if you do a long layover. Like it's a lengthy trip.
Mhm.
And all that is required to do that. And that we have a dog, so I now have to be taking care of vaccinations and
Yeah.
permits for the dog to move. So it's going to be quite a wild month of April coming, because that was when we're moving.
The good thing about moving there is at least it's a little bit more central to each of these areas for dipping out and coming back, other than South America,
Yep.
which is still going to be a significant journey. I'm assuming once the fifth one is also complete and out of the way, you're going to pop back to Mexico for a little bit of recovery, or is that maybe not on the cards?
Right now, I think this year all my traveling is just going to
Just come
be
back and
to the
recover.
races.
Yeah.
Yeah, back and forth, because I don't think I have enough time. Like I said, I have 4 or 5 weeks between each one. And
Yeah.
again, I travel to Mexico, it's a good 20 hours, 18 hours to go home. And you don't go that much, you don't travel that much time to be 3 days. Like at least you need
Mm-hmm.
to be at that place. Like whenever I go home, it's minimum 2 weeks because it's such a long,
Yeah.
such a long ride. So but my parents will be coming for hopefully for
Okay.
each one.
Yeah.
So I know I'm taking them around the world, so that's a great excuse as well to go and travel. So we just they're coming to Nambia.
How is the setup for that? Because I'm obviously conscious about time because I know you've got
Oh
other
yeah, no
commitments
worries.
as well. With spectators in mind, with Andy and your parents, how are these events kind of set up for accommodating spectators, or is it more self-reliant on they'll tell you destinations you're going to be in and rough times, and it's down to them to be in these locations?
So they have a great, this one in particular. I think all tracks have had it too as well, but it wasn't very, like it wasn't put out there.
Mhm.
This one, Racing the Planet, is the name of their organization, by the way. If you want to Google it and check it out for previous for next challenges. They do have an option. You can volunteer, of course. So Andy is thinking in volunteer, maybe a couple of other ones. And then they do have experiences for families members, for example. So this one in Nambia, my parents are going to get there before the last stage, and they're going to bring them to the last stage with me, and they will be running or walking the last, because the last day is 10K. So they will be doing the last 10K with me, and they will be crossing the finish line with me. So they won't be going to the whole, all
Yeah.
of the days, but they give you the options. Also, I think they have that option. I don't know if for all of them. So far, I'm getting the information for the next one. So it's Nambia. And I think Antarctica, they do have also a package for friends and family, so they can stay in the boat, they can go and
I
do a
mean,
little bit
what a
of,
destination to go! Not only to
right.
run, but what a destination to go
I can go running, and then if anyone wants to join, you can just join the expedition, because they have to almost like create an expedition
yeah,
for the runners.
exactly.
So we go running, and if friends and family want to join, they have options for getting around the island, or I don't know what they do. They have like different activities for them through the day. So yeah, they do have options for that. So that's why I love it as well. It's really, really, really fun and inclusive for friends and family to come into the adventure with you without having to run.
Yes, it's not for everyone. It's not even for yourself.
Not for everyone. Not for everyone. We'll see. I have no idea. I know. I don't know if I'll survive it yet. But like I think I told you probably the first episode, the first interview is that's the things I sign off for. Like I wouldn't sign off for something I know I'm gonna finish. Like for me, it's not very appealing.
Mhm.
So I need to know, I need to sign up for a race that, oh, I don't know. And this one, truly, I don't know if I'm going to finish. Like, if I just did the marathon this weekend and I'm absolutely broken, like, how am I going to do that 5 days in a row? And then the sixth day, they hit you with an 80K,
Yeah.
like day after day, like it's one effort after the other in the desert and in 40 degrees. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to cope. Like, I have no idea. So
There's no better way to build up a resilience though than to throw yourself in and immerse yourself in a challenge and really see how you'll get on.
exactly, if I'm terrified, but that's also the other reason why I do these things. I'm driven by the fear. Like, if it wasn't that big, like I said, I'm not a big sports person. Like, I'm not excited to go out and train. I'm not that kind of person. I would live in my couch. I'm one of those people, but I am terrified of the challenge that I'm signing up for. So
Yeah.
I am like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I don't want to die in the desert. I want to enjoy it. So I better go out and train. So I am driven by fear. And it was so funny because my mom said the same thing. Obviously, they sang up. Well, they're doing the last 10K with me.
Yeah.
And that's what she said yesterday. She's like, I went out running because I was so scared. I'm like, I don't, she's like, I did 3K and I'm dying. And she's like, I don't know how I'm going to do 10K with you.
Oh, it'll be so
So,
nice though. And it'll
I'm
just add that
I'm making
extra
them train for
memory.
this as well.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, it'll be so good to come away with that memory, especially the last one with the family.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Before we wrap things up, am I right in thinking you're also doing this for charity?
Yes.
There is a purpose as well, more than just self challenge. You
Yeah.
have a goal in mind.
Yeah. I'm getting funds for a charity that is in Mexico, because I thought, I'm this race because obviously it's an international race, and I will be representing Mexico in this case, obviously. And it's one of those races that it's a truly international race. Like, you have exposure all over the world. There's people coming from all over the world, so you are representing your country. So I thought in doing it for a charity that was close to my heart in Mexico, and it's a house for kids in a really poverty area in Mexico, and they help them. They give them food. They give them a place, obviously a safe place to be. And it's so funny because they are also runners. So the wee kids, the little ones, are discovering that using the running to find joy in life and be happy, even though they maybe are, they don't have a lot of things maybe that we take for granted. They are discovering joy, and by being able to be free in the trails. There's a lot of trails where they are actually. In Durango is called the place, the area. And so it's great for me, but obviously the organ is a charity, so they already struggle obviously to find funds for the normal daily food and
Yeah.
things for school. And she was telling me, so obviously when the kids wanted to start running and all that, it's like it's a little expense.
Yeah.
As
And
you
kids
know,
grow so fast as well, so you need
it's not
to
a cheap sport.
clothe them. Yeah. Yeah. No,
As
exactly.
people may think. So she was telling me, like maybe sometimes they want, trainers, and if they grow up, and the shorts and the t-shirt, like a proper one, so they can truly train, and they can go to races as well, because now they are racing. So these funds will also go into for signing the kids for races, because obviously they have a prize to enter to a race. So they've been going to a couple of races. They've been doing so good. Sometimes even they win. They are in podiums. So they are such good runners. And I'm gonna be so happy to support them with all these funds. They are going to go to support them in their running journey as well.
And if anyone listening, if they are able to contribute, they can find links through your.
I think in my Instagram would be the
Yeah.
easiest way to get it.
And also, you've changed that since last time because you need to reflect your now global stance. So, yeah, you're no longer just Tania Carmona.
I'm
What's your
not.
handle now?
It's Tania runs _ the world.
Well, So if anyone listening is able to contribute in any way, shape, or form and help the youth of tomorrow, not only overcome a deprived area, but also grow to kind of show their love of sport as well, head on over and drop any pennies that you can.
Yes, please. We have a target of, I'm selling the kilometer for £5. So it's 1250 kilometers in the year times 5. And that's how I, plan the target. So if you want to sponsor a kilometer, maybe 1 or 2, or maybe half a kilometer, I will be happy.
And like you said, to do each kilometer is going to be so much of a challenge for you, especially with the weight and the self-supporting. So I think £5 is very cheap for helping you out as well. So
thank you so much. Hopefully everyone can help.
It's been fantastic speaking to you again, Tanya. I loved it. I loved speaking to you first time, and I've loved this one. And it's great to hear all about the challenge. All I can do is wish you the best of luck. I'll be tracking, seeing how you get on, and I will also be contributing as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for your podcast. I always love talking to you and sharing all the plans, and more so giving some exposure to the good deeds that we're doing. And hopefully, because like I was saying, I'm a terrible salesperson. Like I am terrible promoting anything, my podcast or the charity. Like I think I'm so I concentrated in my own training.
You're too humble, Tanya. That's what it is. You're too humble.
I just don't have I don't like putting that out too much. I like sharing my training and my everyday, but I'm terrible at just kind of giving exposure to all the other things. So having these little outlets definitely helps, and I appreciate it.
No, I look forward to getting you back of our number 3. Once you've got over all your challenges, and once you've got over your move and settled as well, we'll get you back and find out how it all went.
I will talk to you from Dubai.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you. You too.
I mean, what can I say about that? That lady is an insane person. I could never imagine undertaking anything quite like that myself. But then again, I'm not one of the ultra crazies quite yet, am I? It was a delight to be joined by Tanya once again, and I can only wish her the very, very best of luck with not only the mega challenge, but also the move that is going to be happening very, very soon. As I mentioned in the interview, if you do have any spare pennies that you're able to put towards Tanya's fundraising for a very worthwhile cause to help underprivileged kids in deprived areas of Mexico not only be fed and homed and also just looked after in a safe environment, but also look ahead to a life enjoying running, then you can head over to her profile at TanyaRuns_the_world. As I said to Tanya, come payday, I'll be dropping over myself and adding the pennies that I can help to support her challenge. If you also find you have room in your podcast digest time, then of course, head on over to Tanya's podcast that she hosts with her partner, Andy, the Ultra Happy Podcast. I have listened myself. I didn't catch the part about the moving, mostly because when I listen to podcasts, I'm either running or I am driving the car. So I think in this case, I may have been focusing on the road and not caught that one. But I mean, come on, that's pretty crazy to do a challenge that's so vast, but also then commit to a mega move to another country at the same time. Best of luck, Tanya, and I'll be keeping a track of everything that you get up to. Next week, we'll see the addition of a guest who is not a full-blown ultra runner for a change, going back to normality, but it's someone I can't wait to share the story of. More on that on Monday. Let's do the outro though and see the mega episode that has been episode 5 out for this week. If you've liked what you've heard today, the best way to support the podcast is to do what you're doing right now, to listen to, download and stream the show. A quick share with your family and friends, or a share on social media along with a tag back to the Instagram page would not go amiss either. They're just two of the free things you can do to show your support for what I am doing. If you'd like to show your physical support for the podcast, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt from our merchandise partners over at Twisted Running. All the proceeds stay with Twisted and help them grow their brand to continue to provide valuable contributions to not only running podcasts, but running groups and coaches. The quality of their product is top-notch. Like I've said in the past, I'm not getting paid to say that. I use my own money to buy this show's t-shirts. And I only have positive things to say. So far, anyone else that's also bought a t-shirt has been super happy with the quality. You can find a direct link to the Twisted 99 page on our website, the point99podcast.com, or by Googling Twisted Running. Dropping them a follow on social media would also be a great thing to do. The show is available on all major podcast platforms, not only the one that you're listening to. So if your friends and family don't like using Apple or they hate using Spotify, there's always an alternative for them. You can also find every episode streamable on our website, as well via the inbuilt player on the episodes page. Now there's two episodes page, one that shows every graphic of the podcast episodes so far. Bit of an odd way to say that, which are linked to Spotify. But if you go in the drop down, there's actually an inbuilt player as well. Finally, we're on both Instagram and Facebook, although I've been a little bit tardy on updating Facebook recently, so I need to get back onto that. Just search for the Point 99 podcast if you'd like to follow what I'm doing on either of those. If you want to get in contact with myself, you can always leave a comment in any of the posts, pop a direct message over to the Point 99's page or my very own at Mr_Steve_runs, or you can email me at the point99podcast@gmail.com. But that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed what you've heard. Enjoy the rest of the weekend when it comes, if you're listening at the weekend. If not, enjoy the week ahead until episode 6. Stay safe, enjoy your runs, and you will hear from me soon.